After a week of drama in Washington, this was supposed to be a quiet, long weekend for NAFTA negotiators to regroup. But Donald Trump has been anything but quiet. The U.S. president continues to tweet his frustration with the current agreement and with Canada for, quote, taking advantage of his country. Megan Roberts is following this story for us. So, Megan, remind us, what has President Trump been tweeting?
He repeated some of the same things that we've heard in the past, Natasha, saying that he loves Canada, proclaiming his love for the country, but also saying that the U.S. has been getting a raw deal at the hands of Canada. Let's bring up one of those tweets that he sent, by the way, on the way to a golf course during John McCain's funeral. Here, Donald Trump saying there's no political necessity to keep Canada in this new NAFTA deal. They're referencing the bilateral deal agreed upon by the United States and Mexico. He's saying that there were decades of abuse by Canada, and if there's no fair deal for the United States, Canada is out. And he also said that Congress, United States Congress, shouldn't interfere or he'll simply terminate NAFTA entirely, something that we have heard from him before, saying that threat to terminate NAFTA. So what do Canadian officials think about all of this? We don't know exactly. They've remained tight-lipped about this officially, as they have throughout the entire process, really. Canadian officials often saying that they're not going to negotiate in public. But sources did tell CBC that they've come to expect this kind of language from the United States president, that kind of language, that strong language, especially during intense periods of negotiation. They said certainly they take threats seriously, but that they think that this is the kind of pressure tactic during negotiations, Natasha.
So as we look ahead to next week, what are we expecting there?
Well, the negotiations will continue on Wednesday between the United States, Canada, and Mexico to try to make that bilateral deal into a trilateral deal. So getting Canada back to that table to try to make something work for all three countries. In that tweet we were just talking about, Trump said that Canada was not politically necessary in this deal, but there are many perhaps, that would disagree with him. And one of those people is Richard Trumka. He is the president of the AFL-CIO, which is the largest federation of unions in the United States. And he says Canada is necessary for that deal. Let's listen to more.
Our economies are integrated. The three countries in North America, the economy is pretty integrated. And it's pretty hard to see how that would work without having Canada in the deal. You said that the Mexican deal is closed. There's still a lot of work to be left to be done, even on the Mexican deal, Chris, because the language isn't drafted. We haven't seen whole chapters of the thing. We're anxious to move forward with it and anxious to have all three countries involved.
Trumka, by the way, doesn't support NAFTA, wants a new deal. And he mentioned that our economies are integrated. This map shows you why. All of the majority of that shade of red on that map represents Canada, specifically Canada being the single biggest trade partner for those individual states. So you can see how tied our economies are in this map. And Canada is America's second largest trading partner overall.
So looking ahead, for more on the NAFTA talks, we reach Lawrence Herman. He practices international trade law at Herman and Associates. He is also a former Canadian diplomat. Here's what he had to say.
Has descended to a dismal period. That's the reality, and we have to live with it. What do we do, and where do we go from here? That's the big question, and I think those are the questions you're putting to me.
Yes, so where should we go from here?
Well, look, under normal circumstances, if you have those kinds of aggressive and frankly obnoxious statements by a party you're trying to do a deal with, trying to reach an agreement, showing bad faith in a major way, one of the options would be to walk away and just say we can't continue to negotiate under these kinds of circumstances with those sorts of threats, kind of a take it or leave it proposition. But I don't think Canada can do that at this stage. Maybe at a later stage, but at this stage, I think we've got to go back to the negotiating table and see what can be done. Frankly, I'm not sure much can be done, but I think the government has to give it another try and see what happens.
Okay, so sir, help me understand that. We're not in a position where Canada can walk away from the table, but you also don't think much is about to change, so what happens next?
Well, I think we can try to see whether there is some meeting of the minds on some of the difficult issues. And there isn't a meeting of the minds, and there doesn't seem to be any flexibility on the part of the United States, Canada will have to make some very tough decisions, and those decisions will be giving in and compromising on some critical issues.